My friend, welcome back. What a blessing to have you back. All right, today I want to read from the book of Jeremiah, chapter 1, verse 11 and 12. And hear the word of the Lord say, it said, moreover, the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Jeremiah, what seest thou? And I said, I see a rod of an almond tree. And the Lord said unto me, thou hast well seen, and I will hasten to perform my word. I will hasten to perform my word. Why? Because you have well seen. When I read this scripture, a few things that run through my head, and I want to share with us today. Number one is, why will even God say you have seen well? It means to me that there is possibility of you not seeing well. And if there is possibility of you not seeing well, then what could it be that will make you not see well? He said, I see a tree of an almond tree. He said, almond tree. He said, listen to this. I say, I took the rod of an almond tree. And you've seen well. So it means to me that if he had said that he saw oak tree, possibly God will have said, no, you saw wrongly. Even though you saw, but it was wrongly. But because you said almond, then you saw right. Meaning that God knew what was there before he asked him to see. He saw it before he asked him to say. He said, Jeremiah, what do you see? Which means God was already seeing what he asked him to see. And this is what our relationship, and that's where faith comes in this life. That most times God asks you what you're seeing because he already seeing something, and that whatever he saw, that what he said, because what he said, he saw. The Bible said, and he said, and then he saw. So God saying and God seeing are in uniformity. And so when God is asking you, what do you see? He's asking you, actually, what do you see from what you heard? What do you see from what you heard? Perception is the most important element in the school of success. Perception. And I'm going to share with you briefly on the power of perception. The law of perception says that where you sit determines what you see. And what you see is determined by where you are seated. And I paraphrase it in this form. Your point of view is determined by your viewing point. Your viewing point determines your point of view, which means what you see is determined by where you are seated. And if that is the truth, then you will agree with me today that even though God has asked Jeremiah about what he saw or what he's seeing, but God wasn't concerned about Jeremiah's sight. He was concerned about Jeremiah's position. Because where you are seated is what determines what you see. So it's not about what you see, but it's about where you are seated. Because if where you are seated determines what you see, it means that if you want to change what you see, then you change where you sit. So God's concern with that question, even though he asks, what do you see? God's concern with that question isn't about what Jeremiah was seeing, but is about what Jeremiah or where Jeremiah was seated. And for you to see what God saw, because by the way, if God said you saw well, it means that you saw what he saw. So for you to see what God saw, then you have to sit where God is seated. And so basically when God asked Jeremiah, what do you see? What God wanted to know about Jeremiah is to know whether he and Jeremiah are still on the same page. Is your thoughts aligning with my thoughts? Because if your thoughts align with my thoughts, then your words will automatically align with my thoughts, because out of the abundance of every heart, the mouth will speak. My judgment will align with your judgment if you are seeing it from where I'm seeing it. Take, for instance, the number 9 and the number 6. To write a 9 is a combination of a circle and a stroke. And the number 6 is also a combination of a circle and a stroke. The only difference is one begins with a stroke and ends with a circle, and another one begins with a circle and ends with a stroke. If you are at the other end of a 9, it will be a 6 to you. And if I am at the other end of a 6, it will be a 9. And so if you are seeing a 9 and I'm seeing a 6, we are both correct. None of us are wrong, because it's all about where we are seated. It's not about what we see. I know we've paid so much attention and do a lot of teaching on sight, what you see. But I can tell you what is more important than what you see. What is more important than what you see is where you're seated. Even before God asked Abraham to look northwards and eastward and westward as far as your eye can see, I'll give unto you. If you remember how God started that statement, he said to Jeremiah, from where you are standing. Before we talk about what you see, you need to first of all ask yourself, where am I even seated? If you're sitting in the wrong place, you will never see the right thing. No matter how sharp your sight is, even if you let your sight be as sharp as that of an eagle, you're never going to see the right thing. You know why? Because you're seated in the wrong place. It's not so much about what you see. We've seen, as far as your eyes can see, that's how far your life can go. If you don't see it, you can have it. It's important. I love it. But what is more important and what is fundamental and what is foundational in this subject is not what you see, not even how far you see, but it's where you're seated. Because where you're seated will determine what you will see. If you are seeing 9, it's because you are at the tail of the stroke. If you are seeing 6, it's because you are at the point of the circle. If you want to change what you see, you change where you stay. And that viewing point will determine your point of view. I want to end it right here, and I will be back again in a couple of days, and I will continue from where I stopped. Stay with me. My name is Dr. Jeff. I love you, and I will talk to you again.